Honorable MEC, HOD, senior managers, members of the media, my colleagues, good morning, everyone. I hope our bodies are not telling the truth that it's December already.
It is.
Yeah, I know some of us, who are in that space, where we are lazy to wake up, and all that jazz. Colleagues, we are about to start. Let's apologize to those who arrived earlier. We planned to start at 9 o'clock, but we are only starting now. Please accept our sincere apology. Without wasting much of the time, let me ask all of us colleagues, as the way of opening, just to observe a moment of silence. We usually pray. We were, taught by our parents to respect the mighty, the Almighty. Just those few minutes, colleagues. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Colleagues, you are welcome into this media briefing. As I have indicated, this is the time when we are expected to enjoy the festivities. But as the sector, we said, no, let's convene all of you today once more as we're about to close the year for MEC to indicate exactly our plans of the coming academic year. That's why you're here, colleagues. Please feel free, as you usually do, to engage with us on any matter in the media statement that we're going to share with you. And then I'm sure we'll be able to respond accordingly. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if we've got new faces here today, but with the short introductions that I am going to make, we have on my next right, we have Umamupula. I want to start that way so that I don't confuse the left and the right and whatever in the middle. We've got Umamupula. She's standing in for UDDG Curriculum Management, Mr. Gade. On her right, we've got our HOD, Mrs. Sharon Mastorp. On her right, colleagues, we might know that face. It's our Honorable MEC, Utatu Gade. On his right hand, we've got Utatu Joseph. He's also standing in for DDG Mkida from the branch IOM. That is the panel, colleagues, that we'll be having today, accompanying the MEC. Colleagues, let me, with speed, hand over to our Honorable MEC, just to give us umpako wanamhlanje in terms of the plans that the department is having for the coming academic year. Over to you, MEC. Thank you.
No thanks, Program Director. Let me take this opportunity to greet the HOD and the team, and also to greet the media houses that we have here today, to take our hats off for the parents of the province for having given us wisdom to handle the lives and souls of those kids, 1.8 of them, which their lives depends on the decisions that we take from time to time as the top management and leadership of the sector. Let me also greet the learners that are exiting the academic year in few couple of days to come, as we will be wrapping up the academic year. But also thank the grade 12 learners that have been able to manage the transition of 12-year journey from grade 1 up until the last minute of their examinations that has been conducted by the DBE in the context of the National Senior Certificate in the country. And also thank them for being part of ensuring that the country deserves the best out of them and also deserves the best out of the systems that government has been able to put in place as part of ensuring that the outlook of the country is better than what it has been yesterday and is better than what it ought to be tomorrow. So that's why I have to have that emphasis, but also to look into the appreciation as well, colleagues, of the social partners that we have in the form of the trade unions in the LRC that have been able to make sure that there is stability in the sector, there is clarity of purpose in the sector, there is agility of doing work in the sector and precision of doing work in the sector, but also making sure that we manage the employer-employee relations, which is a critical question in any labor environment that has to be dealt with. But lastly, to also appreciate and thanks the provincial government led by the OTP, the Premier, for entrusting us with this huge task of reshaping the minds of the people of the province, but also making sure that we don't put government into disrepute in whatever form and shape. So we welcome and thank the Premier of the province for entrusting us with that responsibility, colleagues. You will understand that today is the 8th day before the official closure of the schools for the current year that we have just talking about. But also today is the day by which, as a sector, we are supposed to be accounting on the annual report in the legislature this afternoon at 2:15, trying to expose the people of the province on how the sector has been able to execute the priority areas of government. So we are going back with the HOD today at 2 o'clock just to tabulate the report, but also to give clarity on how we have been able to execute that plan. But also this is the period by which we are currently wrapping up the government's work in the context of the 6th administration, which has been ushered by the previous elections at the mid-year this year. So we are wrapping up the 6th administration academically, but also financially, starting a new phase of government financially and in terms of the plans on the 1st of April next year, in terms of how government has been aligned. So a bit of a contrast because in the middle of the 6th administration, elections output, but in the middle also of the financial year, which is a statutory process, which you can't tamper with, and hence I'm saying, in between those contrasts, you will have to bring in the new when the old is dying. There is that contrast of the old that must allow the new to be born as we gravitate towards the next financial year. But critically to that, colleagues, is also the improvement of the lives of the people of the province, which in my view and the view of the collective that I'm part of, is the skills programs that must inform what kind of citizenry are we expecting in the next coming decade. So we are in that journey together, not just about how many kids have passed, how many kids have failed, how many kids might have left in the system. I'm not saying that is not important, but I'm saying this is a skills production center. When you talk basic education, you falter here in terms of what skills the nation must be able to have in the next coming 10 years. Any plans you have as a nation is bound to fail, because this is a skills center in terms of our understanding of the basic education. So the decision to hold this media briefing now, colleagues, not in January, is a reflection of a system that is gelling, a reflection of a system that is maturing, because we are conducting a school's readiness report today about not just about this academic year, but also about our state of readiness for the 2025 academic year. And our attitude is that you can't plan 2025 in 2025. You need to put systems in place in 2024 for 2025. Complete everything operationally that will be required in the next academic year. So for us, it then gives us a bit of a comfort in terms of the preparedness for the teaching and learning for the first day in the 2025 academic year. So that's one area that we would want also to lift up with you, that at least now we can be able with confidence to say, come 2025, we will be ready and will be able to deal with fundamentally with the issues. By the way, as part of our state of preparedness HOD, we are completing the issue of the recruitment of the HOD in a couple of days from now. We will be having an HOD here, not an acting HOD, come January. Because by the 19th, to be precise, because it's not a secret, by the 19th of this month, interviews must conclude that business. By the 19th of December. So I'm just telling you systemically how we are being able to manage the ecosystem of governance as a sector so that we don't fail the people of the province. We are currently finalizing equally the issue of the appointment of the SMS members, the 24 of them. A shortlisting has been done, interviews are currently underway, and I can assure you, mark my word, by the 10th of January, all those interviews of those 24 posts must be completed. So that come the 13th, when we announce the results of this country through the minister, and on the 14th by the MEC of this province, we don't have vacancies on the SMS at the senior management services. So they have to be managed such that by that period they have been able to get their appointment letters. So both in terms of the operations of the sector, we are sound, but also in terms of the human resource planning, we are also sound. And hence I am taking into confidence on both the appointment of the HOD, which is a critical and a sensitive matter, and also the appointment of the senior service management services of the department. Will be all running the system at that particular time. Ladies and gentlemen, also the sector is concluding the writing of the National Senior Certificate examinations has already done that on the 28th of November, which has been one of the incident-free examinations ever that you have in the province. which also is a reflection of a system that is maturing and a system that is capable of resolving its own shortcomings. Because our attitude with the HOT is that build systems that can resolve their own challenges. Don't build systems based on individuals' wisdom or individuals' capabilities, because individuals comes and go in a system. And once those individuals have vacated the space, then the system will collapse. So you must build in systems that are capable of resolving their own challenges, with or without me, with or without her, so that we can be able to secure the future of the province. These examinations that we're talking about, colleagues, were conducted through 117,000 candidates. One of the biggest number we ever had in the province. 117,000 kids were writing examinations in this province. And out of that 117,000, 102 and 84 were full-time, 102 and 84,000 were full-time candidates, which were writing in 964 schools, both in the public and independent schools. But the 15,964 were part-time candidates who wrote in the 135 examination centers. We are bringing that statistics for you as an indication again that the public service is beginning to be a beacon of hope in the country in general, and also in the province in general. There's been a narrative in the past, DDG Joseph, that the private schooling system in the country is the best. Things have turned around. Things have just turned around now. Maybe the minister will brief you when he's issuing the results come the 13th of January. But the report of government nationally now is indicating something differently. That, for example, if you talk about the quality of maths and science in the country, is in the rural schools, not in the urban schools. Very strange. Also is in the quintile 1 to 3 schools, not in quintile 4 and 5. And again is in the quintile 1, 2, and 3, not in the independent and private schools. Now, what does that say? It says there are spin-offs from the pro-poor policies that government has put in place in defense of the lives of those that are vulnerable, destitute, and rely solely on the state interventions for them to make a living. Because state as a machinery is an instrument of class oppression. State is not a neutral phenomenon. It might either liberate people or it might either exploit the people. It depends on the content of what then the state is advocating for. So that's why I always argue that when you go to government, you must understand that government is not a neutral phenomenon. It depends who are inside government, who are the decision makers, what content do they have, how do they relate with the class forces outside in government. That depends on the state interventions for them to survive. And I'm therefore saying an indication that the country is gravitating towards a qualitative basic education throughput via quintile 1, 2, and 3 is a clear indication that the pro-poor policies of government is working and must be sustained. So that you close the gap between the poor and the rich, using education as an epicenter for that. Relieving those poor families that rely on the social systems grant to get a leverage via the education system, that better life for all. So we can no longer sloganize about this thing of a better life for all. You need to be practically, you need to be deliberate, you need to be systemic, you need to be organic about it now. And you must make sure that every now and then you are making a benchmark on whether that is working or not. And hence I'm then saying, colleagues, the results that you are going to get at the end of the year and the results that we have from the trial examinations that we have in the country are an indication that there is a bit of a balancing act between the social relations contestation in between the class forces that you have in the country. And therefore, safe to say, HOD, we are a better province currently. In the history of this province, DDG Pula, we never have a trial examination that is above 73. From 1994 up until 2023. We were a bit surprised last year when the trial examination was at 75% last year, which then gave birth to 81.4 results in the national certification. Now, the relationship was that you have upped the game on the trial examination and also on the first quarter results of 2023, which then gives you 75 on the trial examination, but also give you 81% on the national senior certification results. Now, currently we are standing at 82% pass rate from the trial examinations. Something that has never been anticipated, but when you look in terms of the systems that we have put in place, it has been an indication that, again, our systems of interventions, our systems of ensuring that we provide a better quality of education in the province are beginning to yield results. And also that you have got rural districts improving results tremendously in the province is again a clear indication scientifically that the gap between the poor and the rich is being closed. And hence I'm then saying, colleagues, those are the milestones that probably one can mention in terms of what we have been able to secure. But equally, we are priding ourselves in the conducting of the examinations with high integrity, security, and precision, which I've already indicated on, and all the learners that were able to write and complete their examinations have been able to do so. There is no single learner that have not written examinations, except the two out of the 117,000, except the two, the one that is as a result of the matter. Yeah, the one that are as a result of the matter, and also the one that is as a result of the, what you call, just forgotten the case, but there are two that were unable to complete the examinations, not because of anything, but because of the crime statistics that have been there. But for me, that is a resounding victory that the people of the province must pride themselves. But also, in terms of the 319 kids that were unable to write the CAT paper in Karaka municipality in October, because of the flooding that was happening at that particular moment in time, we were affected in 5 schools there, HOD. But fortunately, because we are a systems-based sector, when A is not happening, B must kick in. When B is not happening, C must kick in. And you are not going to bring that concept when you are in a crisis situation. You plan as if you are in a crisis situation. You bring in alternatives for any eventuality that is going to be there, even if it is not going to be there. So that's why you were able to take those 319 kids and write that paper on the 28th of November. Back again, writing an alternative paper, because the system in basic education is always ready. Even if the kids can make a copy process, DPE will bring in an alternative paper to write. Even if there is any irregularity that is there, DPE will come with an alternative to that irregularity. So I'm saying put in systems that are allowing you to mitigate any challenge that you could be faced with at any given time during the process. We are conducting, again, colleagues, currently a marking process over 1.4 million scripts. The papers of the province are 1.4 million from the variety of the subject choices that the province have, out of the 117,000 candidates that are currently underway. What is critically of government is the safety and security of those papers in the 25 marking centers that have been approved by the provincial government department. We have got 25 marking centers where those papers are stored, where those papers are going to be marked, where the personnel that is assigned to do so will be engaged on it, starting from the 10th, if I'm not mistaken, starting from the 10th of December. Yes, but also, colleagues, out of those 25, we have got 5 that are situated in the rural areas. Again, sending a message that there is nothing that obscure rural infrastructure not to do with the government business. Because if you don't deal with this divide of thinking that everything that is credible must go to urban areas, you will never deal with the crisis that the nation is confronted with. So we have deliberately appointed rural schools with hostels as part of the marking centers to also make sure that at least there is a bit of some spin-off in terms of those schools that could be appointed. The auditing of those 25 centers and assessment has been suitable, advised, and the standards have been met, colleagues. And furthermore, the training and marking center support personnel took place between the 23 and 24 of November. So the personnel has been trained, there are no issues, and everybody knows what must be done. And lastly, the 25 marking centers shall be populated by 7,022 markers. So in essence, we have appointed 7,022 people to conduct the business of marking in the province. A huge number, which at least we will contribute, DDG Joseph, in the elimination of the unemployment that is there. Because remember, when you talk employment in the marking centers, you are not talking to educators only. There are those that are coming from unemployed sectors to be part of it, in terms of ensuring that you diversify and contribute in terms of eliminating the unemployment of the young people that are there. In terms of the National Senior Certificate Results Program Director, the Minister of DPE will be issuing the results on the 13th. Initially, we were talking of the 16th, but we then revise it on in the CEM to be on the 13th in order to make sure that there is an alignment between the issuing of the results with the reopening of the schools in terms of the school calendar. So you can't announce results of the previous academic year whilst the new academic year has already started. That's a bit an awkward one. So that's why we have brought in earlier the announcement of the results of the minister to the 13th of January at the level of the national, but also at the level of the province. We'll be doing that on the 14th. The MEC that will be there at that time will be announcing the results of the province on the 14th, which will be Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, of January. What is important about those results, colleagues, is that from the plans we have, we can confidently share with you that at least we are confident that we are going to make the 85 that has been made a target for the people of the province. But key for me and the HOD and the entire management is not just about the 85, but also how do you make sure that there is also an aggressive change on the quality of the results that are there beyond the 85 as a target. That's one. But also, how do you deal with the issue of the skills requirement using the tool of the results that we are going to issue? Are we able to realize the National Development Plan benchmarking on the results that we are going to issue? If, for example, we have got a three-streamed model as a country now, which was spearheaded in the province in terms of bringing in the vocational stream education as part of ensuring that you diversify the curriculum of the province. Are those subjects that are linked to the vocational stream in education capable of giving you the results you want? Because ultimately, you must deal with the elephant in the room of a system that produces academics that are unemployable. Yes, they can pass. Yes, they can enroll in the universities. Yes, they can graduate. Are they able to get jobs after graduation? And if then, after graduation, they are unable to get the jobs, then it means you need an urgent review on the content of what is taught in the lecture room and also in the classroom. And hence I'm saying, we have already done that. But now the issue is, are they performing those subjects to the ability of us getting to what we would want to get at the tail end of it? The last one on that one, colleagues, is that unfortunately we are a constitutional democratic dispensation. We are a constitutional country. Everyone has got a right, everyone has got a view, everyone has got a particular perspective. Out of that, the Department of Education finds itself in a court of law about the registration of the kids and the publication thereof, of the candidates. When we analyze that court order as a nation and also as a province, as defined in terms of the Poppy Act, we were of the view as a province that, okay, fine, issue a memorandum to the public and also to the parents to sign a consent form, whether your kid must be publicized or not. Because remember, the court order is not saying publicize the candidate using exam numbers. It says don't publicize, right? Now, if you then wants to either publicize or not publicize, you need a consent form of the parent in terms of the South African Schools Act. That's what we then did for us to be able to secure both the credibility of the process, but also to ensure that you are not found against the declaration of the court in terms of the Poppy Act. And hence we then said, all those that didn't sign the consent form will have to go back and ensure that they retrieve their results in schools so as to be able to be aligned with the court order. But equally, if the minister, because these are matters for the minister, if the minister feels that using the exam marks instead of names and surnames of kids is a correct one, then we are safe. Because on the paper publication, there won't be names, by the way. There will be candidates' examination numbers. So, which then put us into a bit of a good sounding kind of an arrangement. But what was critically in the process was to get a concession from the affected parents, because these are legal matters. They may take you back to court if you have not done so. So I'm saying whatever transpired in the process, whether examination numbers will appear on the national papers and provincial papers, that will be fine for us, because names are not going to appear. Whether those that signed consent forms will appear and the ones that didn't sign the consent forms won't appear, that's immaterial. You will have to go back to various schools and get your results. That's not an issue. But we were just mitigating the crisis in between the court order and the process as regulated in terms of the examinations processes in the country. In terms of the interventions, colleagues on the ECD resourcing, would want to appraise you that the early childhood is a very important sphere of education currently now in the DPE, and which is expected to provide a quality outcome precisely for grade 12 and other grades. You will remember that we have been saying this for the past 3 years, that grade 12 results are grade R results. You don't get grade R right, grade 1 right, you will find high school teachers sleeping in schools. So there must be a paradigm shift on how we manage the curriculum and the execution thereof of the primary schooling system, so that you are able to make sure that there is synergized ecosystem of development of learners from grade R to grade 12, and also the reintroduction of the grade 9 certificate by the then minister is coming handy on this particular question. Otherwise, if awuyenzi loo nto, uzoba nootitshala base-high school abalala ezikolweni, uzoba nootitshala base-high school abahlala ezikolweni nge-holiday, uzoba nootitshala base-high school abahlala ezikolweni afternoon, uzoba nootitshala base-high school abahlala ezikolweni nge-weekends. That is an abnormal thing. In terms of law, those educators are appointed for 7 hours. Nothing more, nothing less. So the results you see are results that comes out of an extreme sacrifice of these officials and educators. The system cannot produce those results currently. So that's why I'm then saying we need to be systemic in dealing with the pandemic that makes high school educators to sleep in schools, using the primary schooling system as a benchmarker to that, and correct whatever tragedy that is there that has been wrong or right in one way or another. You will remember, HOT, that one of the weaknesses that we have done, colleagues, was to abandon the annual assessment in the primary schooling system. Hayi ndim lutshoyo. Yayirongo lanto, irongo lanto, iyaba rongo nanini, because you can't have an industry that do not know whether the product is right or not right. Napha ebaker siyatestwa isonka xa sigqitywa uxova. Napha ebaker siyatestwa intlama ibi right na. Lo uzowubhaka uyasimane esiguqula isonka abone into bana ayiso stena sesonka na esi senziwayo apha. So you can't have a system that benchmarks on grade 12 from grade R to grade 12. There is no certainty about whether are we capable of producing what we're supposed to be producing. So the reintroduction of the grade 9 certificate by the then minister is a matter that must be welcomed. And then we must move away from the pilot on that one and nationalize it, so that all grade 9s in this country must go for GETC, so that you are sure that the primary schooling system is exactly what is supposed to be. The kids that are migrating to higher education in terms of the FET band are the ones that are expected to be. So that's why I'm then saying this matter of stabilizing the ECD education is a critical question. The delivery of the delivery of the learner support material also is a critical one on this particular matter. Alignment of school readiness goals and literacy and numeracy and life skill is a critical one in the ECD. And lastly, our main driver will be to ensure that there is a mass advocacy for the registration of the ECD centers, beyond the ones that we have collected from the social development. Because remember, this is the function that is coming from social development. It has to be redefined when it arrives here. An ECD center of social development can't be an ECD center of Department of Education. We need to redefine here in terms of content, in terms of methodology, in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of any policy discourse that could be dealt at that particular level. Colleagues, in terms of the GETC, I've already indicated, and we will share the notes with you, except to say we are currently developing curriculum implementation monitoring tools for grade 1 to grade 7 schools, and also that to mediate in term 1 and of 2025 academic year. So that implementation tool has been developed so that we can be able to mediate for the next first term of 2024. We have revised the reading strategy also to develop the public ordinary schools as the 2025 has to start. I would leave you on that with an understanding that you have been part of our briefing notes on this one. But critically, which is also a matter that I think is gonna be a thorn in the flesh of 2025, is the reintroduction of the mother tongue bilingual education in the country on grade 4 in all provinces. Remember, Tina Moses go grade 12 kulanto, but the country is in grade 4. Now, I'm then saying, what is gonna be a matter which is going to be a thorn in the flesh are the matters that are at the Pillar Act. Because once you talk language policy in the country, you must understand language as a determinant for social relations. It's not an academic matter into a language. Iyakuxelela ngubani onemali apha ngubani ongenayo. Kutheni ucinga bafana bafuna ukuzosikhumshela ngongekho mlungu apha? Uthi uzosikhumshela nasemgidini. Kutheni lento amatye wabantu abaswelekileyo funeka ebhalwe ngesingesi? Kubani luthetha nayo? Thetha nabani? So the language is not just about the cognitive development of the learners, but a reflection of the power relations within the society. How institutionalized are they? Umzekelo, sipha kula team i-assessa abantwana on maths and science in the country. Sitting in Morocco, other countries are not there in the African continent. Sipaku teams. Again, in the teams, the debate in the continental and national platform is whether the structure itself of teams and peels is right. When you say the developing countries are producing kids that are unable to read and write, from a language point of view, whom are you referring to? Wena xa sinotibhala isiXhosa uyi-German citizen, ungasibhala. Wena. Xa sinothi wena ungumlungu waseBritane izobhala isimpondo. I-maths yesimpondo, ungasibhala wena. Wena ungasibhala. So I'm saying there is a need of a serious discussion about whether our strategy internationally is not underestimated in terms of the language policies that the continents are producing. For example, in the African continent, we identified ourselves in terms of Anglo-African or Franco-African after 30 years as South Africans. Na xa usiya kweza ntlanganiso bazibizayo pha umutsiphe zebhola, uzofika ubona ba aba indlela abacinga ngayo indlela aba balaba abantu babe ba controller ngokucinga. So I'm saying the language issue is a serious political matter than being an academic matter. Hence, my argument to you is, for that matter, nalende mathematics colleagues, go and research. It's an African product, by the way. Maths originated in Egypt. Anyone who's doing maths in this planet has taken it from the African continent. So the debate about whether are we going to be employable when we use African languages on maths is not there. Because the ones that have taken maths and institutionalized it by endleleni, badibene nayo endleleni. So it's a matter that I think I must lift it up because the report is misleading. It's saying kids cannot read and write. Bazawubhala ntoni abantwana kwi-language that is not theirs at that particular age? Remember, grade R to grade 3, kids are doing mother tongue bilingual, mother tongue education. Uba umntana uzalwa ePhuma Koloni wenza isiXhosa, between grade R and grade 3, ufunda i-subjects zakhe ngantoni? Nge-language kamama wakhe. Then translate xa esiya ku-grade 4. Then ihlabathi lifuna uassessa lo mntana utranslator kulo nyaka ku-grade 4. Andaba niyandivana. Ngu-grade 4 lo kutestwa kuye. Lo mntana izolo ebesenza ezi subjects ngesiXhosa okanye ngesiZulu okanye ngesiMandarin. Now today funeka testiwe in another language, a foreign language. Why? Because this foreign language is dominant in the international and continental space. Now, I'm then saying it's a matter that those that are occupying that particular space must be able to clarify us and move with speed on that. Before I land, my colleagues, the department has developed an e-library for us to be able to deal with the deployment of the Microsoft SharePoint so that we can be able to develop a dynamic and efficient platform to serve comprehensively the matters that have been raised by the citizenry of the province. We have been dealing with this matter so that at least kune accessibility between those that we serve and the institution. But equally, on that one, also, we have issued a broadcasting studios as part of that strategy so that kids can be able to benefit out of that. Also, we have succeeded in connecting, Joseph, the 2,000 schools that we promised the people of the province with in terms of the ICT strategy. So we are busy working on the 800 now plus extra so that you can be able to make sure that at least you have closed the divide between the communities. Ingabi yonto yabantu abahlala ezidolophini le. On the learner admissions, colleagues, the learner admission process has been finalized, and also we are at the stage of admitting. Currently, we are at 1.7 million learners currently. But there are areas of concern which we needed to have a closer look on because of the migration patterns. Your Nelson Mandela area, your Buffalo City, Sarah Batman, and Joe Gabi in particular, Alwal North. The reason is economically, not educational, is economically. When kuqala unyaka abantu bafuna uyofuna imisebenzi, xa beyofuna imisebenzi bamuva nabantwana babo. And xa bemuva nabantwana babo bayajeopardize i-admission policy yethu because thina si-admit abantwana apha between October and end of November. We close the admissions in terms of the policy. But because we are a caring government, we have to be a bit flexible. When they come back in January, those that might have not got the space, we will have to reopen up that matter and deal with them. So I'm saying those are the areas that also need an attention from us. In terms of the school funding norms, colleagues, we are at 100% now, a breakthrough. Because once you don't fund schools in terms of the school funding norms, you have killed them. Because remember, these are Section 21 schools. So you need to inject capacity financially to them to be able to execute their own task. So we are funding them now at 100% currently. And I'm told that the trench has been done in October. So akho sikolo apha eprovinsini esifanele basithi ngoJanuary asikho-ready. Why? Because imali yabo bayinikiwe kaJanuary ngo-October. So that i-systems zabo can move with speed and be able. In terms of the school nutrition program, colleagues, I'm trying to be a bit fast. We are currently serving 1.6 million kids. Sisuka ku 246 learners in the past 4 years. Now, sisuke pha ku 603 to 246 learners in the past 3 years. Now, 1.6 million learners that are receiving both breakfast and lunch. The reason, Yoba, it is becoming clearer now that the majority of the citizens of this country are living below the poverty lines. And therefore, even your systems of governance must be able to respond to that. So that's why we reintroduce the breakfast meal. Because akukho guarantee into yobana ebetyile lo before alale. And akukho guarantee into yobana ebetyile uvuka kwakhe before aze up. Now, as government then cushioned that by bringing a breakfast meal, so that whatever happened phaa either during the night or in the morning, government can cushion it up by a breakfast meal. But also, before amke esikolweni, phinda umvale ngento etyiwayo for the lunch, ukwenzela into yoba in case kube kwi-crisis phaa kowabo, at least can sustain himself or herself. So we are trying by all means to probably align ourselves with that particular task ahead of us, colleagues. In terms of the scholar transport, you will remember that, colleagues, we were a bit sluggish on this one when we were starting academic year 2023. Two reasons for that sluggishness. One, kuphela i-contract kwa-Department of Transport in the middle of the year 2022. Now baqhubeke ne-contract yabo 2023 without reviewing it. Bazoyireviewa xa kuphela unyaka 2022 for the effect of 2023. Now, that transition is created a problem, Tina, from the basic education, because remember, i-mandate abanayo ngokwemali abayinikiweyo Department of Finance was a mandate that must carry them on 90,000 kids, as opposed to 103 kids that they were taking care of, as opposed to 125,000 that previously they were carrying on. Now, you are dropping numbers from 125 to 103, drop again 103 to 90. And then that discourse created a bit of a problem at that time. And therefore, Treasurer has to intervene and come back and give Department of Transport and Education money so as to cap that particular process. But unfortunately, it was already late. Now, what we are then saying now is that currently, because you must learn from the past in order to determine the future, currently we have been able to feed the system in the Department of Transport with 91,170 kids. We have been able to give them that data currently. The reason is because, again, why not 103, Joseph? Because the mandate of the provincial government currently is not 90, is 103. Why are you providing 91,170, not 103? Here are the reasons. The system in education is so dynamic. The kid that was doing grade 7 at school A, that is going to do grade 8 at school B, might be going to a school that does not have a scholar transport. Now, which means the data for grade 8 is not here. The data for grade 8 that is uncertain is not here because grade 8 is a component of a migration from primary schooling system to higher schools in terms of the total system in education in the country and in the province. Now, you need the 10th day return report for you to ascertain grade 8 and grade 1 data. Kungenjalongo uzoba nomntana okwischolar transport ongakhweli transport. Because lo mntana bekhwela transport, I agree with you, kwa grade 7. But akafundi kwesa sikolo ngoku. Ufunda kwenye i-high school. And the high school aya kuyo ngoJanuary might not be part of the scholar transport in terms of the police. So you must not rob and defraud the system. Government must be able to look, how do you move from 91,000 to 103 in terms of grade 8 and assure that these are not ghost learners. These are not ghost people that are transported, and these are not ghost routes. So that the money of the public can be accounted for. So that's the reason that I am telling you on the 91,170 as opposed to 203. So in essence, in summary, I'm saying, apo siya khona siya ku 103. In a space of a month from now, we'll be able to be at that 103. But in credibility and integrity at data education, you can only ascertain it after 2 weeks schools have been reopened. Uqiniseke ke ngointo bana hayi nyani ke ngoku. Xa kusithiwa uGade Fundile ufunda eUlwazi eMdantsane, uhlala eDuncan Village eMonti, then ukhwela itransport yebhasi enguzibani. Indeed, uzofika uGade Fundile ekhona kwi-attendance register yaseUlwazi. Uzofika uGade Fundile ekhona kwi-register yale service provider ithi ikhwelisa uGade. Why? Because Gade ebefunda eDuncan Village grade 7. eDuncan Village Primary grade 7. Now ufunde uLwazi ngoku. Why? Because the best school in East London is not Hudson Park, it's Ulwazi in terms of maths and science. So, ngoku into eyenzekayo kusuka abantu eBacon Bay, eNaun, eVincent bayofundisa abantwana babo elokishini. Why? Because the best mathematics school in the province is Ulwazi, in particular in the East London area. Not the Sterling, not the Hudson Park. Now, those are the explanations that we can give Kulende Scholar Transport. Otherwise, the system goes, we have got number of district director meetings with the Department of Transport and Department of Education at that particular level. The information is collected at an appropriate level. Lastly, colleagues, on the post-provisioning norm, we have declared 52,817 by the 5th of September, and earlier than the set date in terms of what should have been done. The expectation from us is that we are concluding the placements, so that ubangaba kuki excess teachers zikwazi uplaceka before the time arrive. Ubana ngaba kuki vacancies ezenziwa either by the nutrition, we are able to deal with that. On infrastructure, colleagues, I won't waste your time. We have been able to build 104 schools in the province in the past 5 years. Something that has been is a milestone. But key now, what I can report to you is that we have allocated 1.8 billion rands for ensuring that the education infrastructure grant is spent to the latter. Hambani ke nalento iti. Currently, we are on the red on infrastructure spending. Ngamanye amagama, we are overspending. Couples of millions of rands. I have said ke ku HOD, in as much as the provincial treasurer and the OTP is advising us to put brakes on the spending on infrastructure, I welcome that, we accept that. But, there is a big but. You can't put brakes now. Brakes must be put in February Why? Because there are provinces that are underperforming on infrastructure in this country, which the minister must take the money to provinces that are overspending. Now, you need to close your books on infrastructure spending as early as February, not April. So that you are able, when the National Minister on Finance, through the adjustment budgets that he has done, is taking the money from the underperforming provinces in a space of weeks to come, you are able to spend those monies that have not yet arrived here, not later than February. So clear the invoices of the implementing agencies before Christmas. Clear the invoices of the service providers before Christmas. Every person that is owed here by this department must get their monies. Even if it is not enough, but they must get transactions payment in the run that is going to happen on Thursday this week. And the HOD have negotiated with her that the finance people and some skeleton staff must not close. So that you clear any backlog, whatever backlog that is there, whether it's from the service providers that we have, whether it's from the gratuities and pensions that is there, whether it's from the invoices of the infrastructure contractors that are building schools, that are closing. Une-crisis yensokotha umzekelo egqibe ukwakhiya ihostel yabantwana abayi-600. Now, that contractor must be paid before he hand over izitshixo zayo ngoJanuary. And I'm then saying, we are in a good, advantageous position financially. What you need to do, close your books earlier so that you retrieve the money that is as a result of underperforming infrastructure in other departments. Then you use it in other plans that you have. For example, we have got a crisis of pit latrine toilets here. Out of the 1,500 schools that were mandated to be completed, we have got 290 something. It should be 290 something schools that have not been finalized yet. And what you can do, because the minister has already committed that at the end of the financial year, all pit latrine toilets in the country must be eradicated. And I'm then saying you do have the capacity to do that. Why? Because you have been able to deal with the pit latrines of 1,300 plus in the previous financial years, out of the 1,500 that you were given. Now, you are only left with 290 plus, which needed an extra money from the DBE, because the money you have cannot be able to service that particular mandate. What you must do, deal with the mandate that you have been given, close books on it, and then request funding from the DBE to deal with the 200 plus that is left, and you complete them come the end of April, because you do have. By the way, we have already given some to Amatola Water to deal with them. If you look in terms of the infrastructure that is there in terms of the plans that we have. Lastly, colleagues, we will share the statement with you. In terms of water provisioning, we have been able to provide 150 water tanks to 52 schools across the province at a rate of 13.5 million. And also, in terms of disaster schools, we have been able also to provide 92 million to repair the emergency schools of the emergency of 18 schools that have been affected by the disasters that you have. But on the disasters, again, colleagues, we didn't get money there. You still have disasters that have not been addressed yet. So that's why I am then saying, the money you have, don't waste your time. Use it, close books, and then you request another money, use it, close book, so that the disaster schools that are there can be eliminated in the system. Their pollution facilities in the form of pit latrines can be eliminated in the system. Anything that has to do with the infrastructure and sanitation can be there. Equally, colleagues, who have got 100 million rands on the fencing program that is gonna be enrolled for 34 additional projects that are some of them that are under construction, and also 107 that are on the planning phase. Because the intention is to secure the kids and also to secure the workforce that you have, especially Nelson Mandela, where you have got crime that is becoming prevalent. I am closing this matter on the two topical issues so that you don't ask me. I tell you. We are currently having instituted an investigation on the Sizwe IT contracts. The rental ones. Those are 2016 and 2017 rental contracts, not the tablet one. The investigations that are currently given to Hawks are the rental contracts of 2016 and 2017, which has got some matters that must be answered to, as stipulated on the questions raised by the Hawks and other investigating organs of the state. So the HOD and the management and myself have requested everyone to collaborate with the law enforcement agencies. No one must either duck and dive on that, and we must not bring politics into that. Let's not bring politics in case we politicize Tagar. In case we politicize Tagar, politics outside, administration in, investigations in. So I am then appealing to yourselves that the narrative outside there is a bit confusing, because it conflicts number of issues that are not there. The investigations are on the rental contracts, 2016, 2017, ones of Sizwe, which has to be answered. We have handed over the files, we have handed over the information that is required. The issue of the contract on tablets is not under investigation. It is in a court of law. Is the one that you will remember we bought about 55,000 tablets. Is the one that was piggybacked in the what is that department? DDET contract. Is the one that was interdicted. Is the one that AG investigated and get nothing. Is the one that SIU investigated and gets nothing. is the one that the public protector investigated and gets nothing. But interestingly, even there, that contract is still in a court of law under the disguise of an interdict. I'm not a legal person, but an interdict is supposed to be either dismissed or withheld within 7 days legally. But that interdict has got 3-year-old. I don't open up a discussion on that, but I'm saying it's interesting because an interdict is supposed to be 7 days. Either you dismiss it or you hold it, you withhold it. But that one has got 3 years. Now, you have got a contract that has expired but not serviced. Expired on the other side, but not serviced. With legal contractual obligations on it, which then government has to take its matter back to the court and make a presentation there, whether to go for a settlement on it with the parties that are there, or the court to make an adjudication on it. So continuously presenting that contract as if it has got a court order, it doesn't have a court order. It doesn't have a court order. There is no finding on it. And there is absolutely nothing from a procurement point of view that has been found to be awkward on that contract until further notice. So I'm saying, on the issue of the 55 tablets contract, there is no issue. Where there is an issue is on the rental contracts of the issue of the 2016, 2017. Those are the laptops, if I'm not mistaken. Should be the laptops, if I'm not mistaken, those contracts. And also some of the infrastructure that we use in the head office, which involves Sizwe, by the way. The second one is on the death threats of the CFO. We received a call from her that she has got death threats, and then government has actually executed what is expected of us. What is it that is expected of us? One is to instruct her to go to a nearby police station and open up the case. That's one. Two is to make sure that the law enforcement agencies investigate the matter. Three is to make sure that we give her a special leave so that we exonerate her from the work that is expected, so that we don't put her under a severe pressure of work, but equally undergoing some threats in one way or another. Four, make sure that the law enforcement agencies make a security analysis and provide what is expected of them from that particular aspect. So my expectation, and the expectation of the Department of Education, is that the safety, the law enforcement agencies are currently supposed to be doing threat analysis, security analysis, provide necessarily support where it is necessary, investigate the matter to its logical conclusion, and determine what must be done. We are then saying everyone must respect that. Everyone must respect that. Because if we don't respect, you run a risk of a state that will find itself wanting. Because once you have got such kind of things, one, you need to investigate how it comes to the telephone conversations, what transpired there, what are the threats, Where was the phone connecting in terms of the networks? Phones have got signal cardinal points. They tell you when I was making a call from where. But also, law enforcement agents is capable of ensuring that it can make a conclusive statement. If that investigation is concluded, we will then call you back. And also, is there any relationship between the investigations and these death threats? That's another important aspect. Is there any relationship between these investigations that are currently happening and the death threats? So that you don't leave any stone unturned on that particular matter. So hence we are making that clarion call that let's just be comfortable, patient, allow the law enforcement agencies to do their work, but let's not politicize it. Politics out. Let's focus on the ball. Who is threatening who? Why? Is there any relationship between these threats and the current investigations that are currently happening? If yes or no, the law enforcement will be capable of determining that. HOD and the colleagues, my apologies for having taken a bit of your time.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Colleagues, you know, when you talk about the 9 provinces of this country, the Eastern Cape most is at the top when you list them alphabetically, isn't it? So I think that's where we are now with the leadership that we're having in front of us, colleagues. It is the time now, colleagues, to allow you to ask questions. And the panel in front of you will provide those questions. You will raise your hands and you will indicate or you will tell us who you are and where you are coming from in terms of the institution that you are representing. It is that time now, colleagues. Please raise your hands. Let's ask questions. Hey, MEC uyitye yonke. They don't have any questions. And hopefully, Mr. Mtimba, you will also share the statement with them. And MEC has already covered, Mr. Mtimba, the question which was shared online, I think on the issue of the CFO. He has already covered that one, and as well as our targets in terms of the percentage that we're looking at this current financial year. I think in 2025, we're looking at 90%, and we'll be the first poor province to get there. Yeah, we're getting there, colleagues. No questions, colleagues. Everything is clear. Yeah, no, thank you very much. MEC, let's give MEC a round of applause, colleagues. Yeah, request, Mr. Mtimba and Ms. Boxela, please, you will handle the one-on-ones, if there are any requests for that, so that we can ask the MEC and the HOD to take those. Are there any requests to that? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. My panel, I think today MEC has done very well, such that everything is so clear. Yeah, otherwise we need the MEC, and who else do we need? The HOD for the one-on-ones. Ms. Bagwala, do we need the HOD? Only the MEC? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, colleagues. Yeah.
Before we go,
Have a lovely day further. Thank you so much.